You are watching college baseball on the ACC Network Extra. It's the third and final game of this ACC series and the second of today's doubleheader live from South Bend, Indiana. A split so far as both Notre Dame and Clemson seek a conference series win here on a sunny Sunday afternoon. Glad you could join us inside Frank Eck Stadium alongside Tom Peterson. I'm Nick Baldessari. And Tom, the Tigers got the better of the Irish in Game 1 today. Still have a chance to win the series, but Notre Dame winning Game 1 yesterday.
That's right. Yesterday, Nick Pockel, you see 3 for 4, had a late game RBI, and Scott Tolley got the job done for the start. For the starting pitcher for the Irish, went 6 strong innings. Earlier game, Clemson, the bats came alive, 3 solo home runs, and a really strong pitching performance from Brooks Crawford. And so Clemson and Notre Dame both battling here for an ACC series victory. Yeah,
Notre Dame did out-hit Clemson in the first game today. They had a late 2-out rally in the 9th, scoring 2 runs, but eventually fall 6-3 in that second game, the first one of today. Take a look at Notre Dame's defense alignment as you see the beautiful field of Frank Eck Stadium. Not many changes for Notre Dame, especially out there in the field. The designated hitter, Eric Felizo, the difference in the lineup.
David LaManna, who got the DH spot in Game 1 today, is going to slot back behind the dish, the starting catcher for the Irish. Kirshner, Johnson, and Gilgenbach across the outfield, followed by Vierling, Daly, Podkel, and Cavadas. That rounds out the infield. Behind Cameron Junker, the pitcher for the Irish.
Yeah, Junker will start things off on the mound. Clemson improved to 24-7 with that win, 9-5 in the ACC. The Irish fell to 13-17, 5-9 in conference play. The Irish now 5-4 at home. Tigers even on the road as well. But Notre Dame has shown they can beat top 10 competition this season. They have 4 wins against the top 10, 2 against LSU and 1 against Florida State and Clemson. They can win a big series in the second game.
Yeah, well, 3 of those 4 wins came on the road. This is a young Irish team, a lot of young pitchers. But they've shown, as you mentioned, Nick, the ability to really beat anybody this season, and they've already beaten Wake Forest at home this season.
Yeah, this is a doubleheader, and this is the 4th doubleheader for Clemson this season, the 3rd in the ACC. First game today started at 11 o'clock a.m. local Eastern time. For Notre Dame, it's their 2nd doubleheader of the season. They played Miami in a doubleheader back on March 10th. A little loose here to start Game 2 of the doubleheader. We're just moments away. There'll be a meeting at the plate for both coaches. Head coach Mike Aoki now in his 8th season, his 201 wins here at Notre Dame, quite impressive. He was a 1990 Davidson graduate. He had 4 years at Boston College before Notre Dame as well. On the other side, Monte Lee now in his 3rd season, 2-time regional appearances, ACC champs in 2016. This program has a chance to go even further this year.
They've got their eyes certainly on something beyond the regional. Number 9 team in the country. They've got a lot of marquee wins. They are tough to beat all season. And in his 3rd season, Monte Lee does have his eyes not only on a super regional, but perhaps the first College World Series appearance for the Tigers since 2010.
Yeah, 2000 graduate of the College of Charleston, had 7 years at the helm there as well. And he leads Clemson into their 3rd season with him. They've been terrific. How about 43 home runs this year by the Clemson Tigers? Mentioned Mick Aoki as well. This team is really fielding the ball well. They're hitting the ball really well lately as well. You look at Nick Podkel batting 3rd today, Matt Vierling as well. Those guys have been really on point as of late.
Yeah, Vierling struggled a little bit in the first game earlier today, but hit the ball hard a couple of times. And don't forget, Jake Johnson in that 2 spot had 4 hits earlier today as well. Notre Dame out-hit Clemson, as you mentioned earlier. They had 10 hits, struggled with runners on base. They were 1 for 18, struggled with runners in scoring position. Didn't really come through until that last frame, until the game was out of hand. But they kind of are looking to carry some of that offensive momentum from the latter part of Game 1 here in the doubleheader into Game 2, trying to get this series win.
You see both head coaches, Mick Aoki and Monte Lee, alongside the umpiring crew. At home plate, it's Brent Rice for Game 3 of this series. First base, Randall Doolin. Second base, John Haggerty. And third base, A.J. Lastaglio. An umpiring crew that's done a very good job this week. And we had a review in the last game on that crazy play at second base. But we're getting ready to play ball here in South Bend for Game 3 of this series. Still a chance for either team to steal a series. Clemson playing in cold weather for only really the second time this season. They were at Louisville earlier in March. Notre Dame still looking to get in a groove at home. They are 4-4 overall. And Tom, for them on the mound today in Game 3, Cameron Junker, the right-hander.
Yeah, sophomore right-hander, first right-handed starter for the Irish in this series, making start number 8 on the season. Last week struggled a little bit, just went 3 1/3 at Duke, gave up 1 earned run, walked 3. That game ended up getting out of hand, but he gave the Irish a chance. That'll be what Mick Aoki is asking here today, and especially after last game in which the Irish gave up too many free passes, too many walks and hit by pitch. It'll be the job of Cameron Junker to come in, throw a lot of strikes, pitch to contact. As you mentioned, Nick, the Irish defense really this entire series and this entire season has been fantastic. So Cameron Junker will have an opportunity to fill the strike zone, let the defense work behind him.
There you see his numbers on the season, 1-2 with a 6.57 ERA. Just over 24 innings pitched on the year. You talk about the hit by pitch, and also the walks by Tommy Sheehan in Game 2 of this series, the one earlier today. That was Junker's problem against Duke. Did only give up 1 earned run, but did walk 3, hit another batter. That's why his day ended in just 3 innings and a third. For Clemson, you look at their lineup today. Kier Meredith starting off as the leadoff guy for the second time in the series. It's just his 3rd appearance as a Tiger in his career, the young freshman. Outside of that, it is basically the exact same lineup. Instead, Patrick Cromwell, who came in as a substitute third base in Game 2, he's going to get the start here in Game 3.
And Cromwell, who started yesterday, will be back at the hot corner to start things off. Seth Beer and Logan Davidson there in the 2-3 spot. They flip, so Beer, the power hitter, is going to slide up to the 2 spot. He's struggled at times this series. Did have 2 singles yesterday, but was an offer in Game 1.
It gives an interesting look at the lineup. Seth Beer did struggle a little bit in Game 2, 0 for 4 for him. Chris Williams 0 for 4 as well. Those guys still having fairly quiet weekend series here at Notre Dame, but we are just about ready to get underway, and Kier Meredith has been anything but quiet as the leadoff guy, a freshman, a top 39 recruit, actually ranked the number 39 freshman by perfect game, and the number 3 freshman in the ACC by Division I baseball. And Game 3 in the final series game of this home series for the Irish underway. That first pitch by Junker. A ball, and now a 1-0 count to Meredith.
Hey, wait a second. Yeah, come on, up.
Mentioned earlier, Junker on the season, 0 for 2, or 0 and 2, I should say. He's making his 8th start, his 9th appearance in this final game of the series. And now a count 1-2. Irish snapped a 6-game losing streak against Clemson yesterday with that win over the Tigers. But the Tigers get one back here today. 9-6, the advantage in the overall series. So this is game number 16 between the two squads.
Also the first time that Monty Lee had lost to the Irish. He had been perfect 6-0 in his first 2 seasons.
Two-two pitch from Junker in there, and he gets Meredith looking for strike number 3 and the first out of the final game of this series.
First time Meredith has gone down with the strikeout this season.
I have a feeling we're going to see, we've said that a lot already. This series might say it again today. A lot of the firsts for Meredith, this being his 3rd game. Suffered an injury in the fall, and finally cleared to play this weekend. Stepping in is Seth Beer. Mentioned he had been a little bit quiet. 2 for 4 in Game 1, 0 for 4 in Game 2. His average now is 283. Came in today with a 294.
And an encouraging start here for Junker. 2 batters faced, 2 first pitch strikes. He's been ahead in the count against both batters.
Infield playing deep. Beer will foul one off. Out of play on the left side. Glad you guys can join us for this one. Alongside Tom Peterson, Nick Valdesari. It's a nice day in South Bend, Indiana. Sunny, a little chilly, mid-40s, but the sun is beaming. I mean, you got to put some sunscreen on with the blue skies. And now the 0-2 again to Beer. Foul back. We've seen Beer as a very smart hitter as well. Not always a guy that is, he's not always looking for the home run. Certainly that's his preferred swing, but I've seen a couple singles from him this series where he's just been able to put it into a perfect spot. The 0-2 nearly caught the outside corner on the backdoor breaking ball, but now 1-2. Junker pops Beer up. He's done a lot of that this weekend. Vierling, the third baseman, able to get there for out number 2.
Skied to the moon by Beer. Tough play for Vierling. We saw it yesterday, not as much in the earlier game today, but yesterday the sun was a big factor for infield fly balls. Fly balls to the outfield gave both these teams some trouble. And you could see Vierling there using the glove, battling the sun a little bit. The wind has died down, so that's good news for both these defenses.
Yeah, the pitchers too. A lot of home run balls in that first game. 3 by Clemson. A 1-0 to Logan Davidson. Batting .264. Came in today batting .267, so he's right in the same spot after going 1 for 5 in game 2. He's a 1 for 8 overall this series. And a big swing and a miss. Junker dealing early. And Davidson contesting with home plate umpire Brent Rice that he had called time. The pitch came through anyway. Davidson's lucky it wasn't a strike because Brent Rice would have called it had it been right down the middle.
It's always on that gray line once the starting pitcher gets going in the windup, but he asked for it and was not granted.
So now a 2-2 pitch. Inside, gets by LaManna.
Hey, find a way.
So now a full count to Davidson.
Come on, Logan.
Davidson highly regarded as one of the best shortstop prospects in college baseball. That'll be ball 4. So the first base runner for Clemson here in game 3 comes with 2 outs in the top of the first.
Next batter for the Tigers, first baseman number
Get another walk in.
Chris Williams.
Falling behind in the count, Junker gotten off to a good couple of first batters with the first pitch strikes. Missed there.
That's first pitch to Chris Williams, and it's a strike. So Williams, the right-handed batter, digging in. It's been fairly quiet, as we mentioned earlier. 1 for 5 in game 1, 0 for 4 in game 2. The Irish pitchers have done a great job with the lethal hitters of Clemson. Junker will step off the bag, check first.
And a balk called on Junker. Call from the first base umpire, Randall Doolin.
So Davidson will get the free base. So a runner in scoring position now for Williams. It didn't look like Junker had really set. He caught Davidson off guard. And I'll step off this time.
You don't want it.
So now an 0-1 to Williams. Williams slaps it into left field. It'll come down for a base hit, and it's going to score one. It's an RBI single with 2 outs, and the balk proves costly for Cameron Junker. And Tigers on the board early.
Not only the balk, but the walk with 2 outs, issuing a free pass. We mentioned how deadly that was for the Irish in game 1, and it hurts them here as well. Williams, a simple little swing, and that's going to fall well in front of Kirshner out there in left field. First time this series, Williams gets an RBI, and Clemson gets an early lead.
Clemson had the early lead in game 2, the one earlier today, but it was not until the 3rd inning with back-to-back solo home runs. The Irish jumped out early in the first game, 2-0 in the first inning, but Clemson on the board to start things here in the 3rd. So it's Robert Jolly, the left-handed batter, facing a 1-1 count. That one a little high for ball 2. Jolly enjoying his best season as a senior outfielder. He was a catcher the past 3 years. Came into this series batting .382 with runners in scoring position. He's got a runner on. He'll take ball 3.
Did not play in game 1 of this series. It was 0 for 4 in game 2 this morning.
The Junker sets, delivers. That's strike 2 now, full count.
Right where you want him, Bob. Right where
Jolly
you want
from
him.
Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, went to Carolina Forest High School.
Hey, battle up here, 1-2. Let's go, Bob.
He, alongside Drew Wharton, the left fielder,
Come on, Bobber.
are those 2 emerging seniors that have stepped up in their final campaign. And a swing and a miss, strike 3. Junker does give up the run on the RBI single by Chris Williams, but we head to the bottom of the 1st. Clemson with the early 1-0 lead. Beautiful shot of the Father Theodore Hesburgh Library here on the University of Notre Dame campus. Clemson getting the 1 run on the 1 hit in the top of the 1st, and it's their left-hander, Jake Higginbotham.
Higginbotham, the redshirt sophomore, 3-1 on the season, making his 8th start. A 4.11 ERA, 16 earned, 27 strikeouts against just 7 walks. And he has some of the better pure stuff as anyone in this rotation. Missed all of last season with an injury, but has been the Sunday starter for Clemson throughout the ACC slate. And then behind Higginbotham, pretty standard defensive slot, Wharton, Meredith, and Beer, followed by Davidson, Green, Williams, and Bird down at 3rd.
So Cole Daly leading things off for the Irish. Couple of changes. 3rd base, we got Patrick Cromwell. That was the alignment for the first game, but right on Higginbotham, one of those really talented players. 9-93. Breaking ball is a slower pitch than most, so you and I were having a debate earlier, maybe a sweeping curve rather than a 12-6. He's had some control issues, but certainly has pitched well here in his redshirt sophomore season. This one is hit into left field. No problem for Drew Wharton out there. Now retire Daly for the first out. Take a look at the Irish batting order. A couple changes. Eric Gilgenbach batted 7th. He's up to 6th now as the right fielder. Cavada's going down the 1 position. And then, of course, Eric Feliz stepping in. And David LaManna still in there, but as a catcher. Feliz, the designated hitter today, replacing Bryce Gray, who was the catcher in Game 1 of today's doubleheader. Jake Johnson, and Tom, what a day he had. Well, he's having a good day. I should say same day, but Game 1 of this doubleheader was absolutely terrific.
At 4 hits in Game 1 today, including a double, couple of singles. Hit a 2-run home run to open up the scoring for Notre Dame yesterday.
And got an RBI in that game as well. For Johnson. Added his 18th RBI as this one is fair down the third baseline. He rounds first. This is going to be extra bases. And it's a stand-up double for Johnson, who is 5 for 6 now this Sunday.
He's been favoring the opposite field and especially that third base line. Almost identical to the ball he doubled on earlier this morning. This ball creeps all the way into the corner, slowing down with that turf, and he easily stands into second base. Runner in scoring position already for the Irish. Mentioned their struggles in Game 1 today, but Nick Podkul, guys you'd love to have up to bat in this type of situation.
Podkul 3 for 4 in Game 1 yesterday. And 1 for 3 with an RBI in the first game of today, so the second game of the series. And he's got a runner in scoring position with Johnson at second. The 0-1 from Higginbotham. Down low.
Started off this at bat with back-to-back breaking balls. And you were right, Nick. Not quite a 12-6, not quite a slider, kind of that slurve, that in-between. The off-speed offering from Higginbotham.
He's highly considered as one of the best pitching prospects Clemson has. And a guy you want on the mound in a decisive Game 3 ACC series.
He's been followed pretty highly throughout his prep and college career. He's drafted in the 27th round by the Mets. So Louisville Slugger, first-team All-American out of high school.
And like many on this Clemson roster, also Notre Dame's roster, deciding to go to college instead of the major leagues right away. I'm sure Higginbotham will have a chance at getting drafted again. And now the 2-2 coming. Oh, look at that breaking ball. Does miss the zone. Brings it to a full count. Podkul resetting. And now the 3-2 pitch fouled back. Podkul with 24 RBIs. That leads the team. He had 20 all of last season. Breakout junior year for him. And another 3-2, strike 3. Got him down swinging, and there's 2 outs in the inning.
Higginbotham had been attacking with that breaking ball, and with its movement, it had been cutting down and in on Podkul the entire bat, but back towards that back right foot. And he changes it up on the 3-2 count, goes fastball up and away on the outside corner. And too much behind that one. You mentioned 90 to 93 on the fastball, so he's got some heat behind it.
Brings in Matt Vierling. Another one of those players that decided to go to college instead of the major leagues right away. The organization that drafted him was his hometown team, the St. Louis Cardinals. The 1-0 is fouled off. Veerling was the last out in game 2, the game earlier today. Irish mounting a 9th inning 2-out rally. They scored 2 in the 9th, but just fell short. They out-hit Clemson, but Ryan Miller, the relief pitcher, able to get out of that jam. That pitch is in there for strike 2. The 1-2, foul back. Veerling this season batting .324 with runners in scoring position. .391 on base percentage too. He's been terrific. We've highlighted him a couple times. The month of March was his come-out month. Now the 1-2 outside for ball 2.
Veerling put a charge into a couple of balls, went 0 for 5 earlier this morning, but hit a couple balls deep to the warning track. Just missed a couple of home runs.
Yeah, 3 balls were hit to the warning track by Notre Dame earlier today. And this one is popped up into right center field. Seth Beer underneath it for out number 3. Higginbotham faces 4 batters and retires the side. We head to the top of the second. Clemson with the 1-0 lead. Jake Johnson, 1 for 1 today, was 4 for 5 in the earlier game today, so he's 5 for 6 in the combined 2 games so far, but Tom, he's done it in the outfield too.
Yeah, had an amazing catch in center field in game 1 this morning.
Leading off the top
Bird.
of the second inning for the Clemson Tigers.
Drove a ball to center field, and it was right over Johnson's head. He made a nice catch running over.
Still a nice catch by Daly, though. You want to give some props to Cole Daly as well. He had a diving catch. 2 Sports Center top 10 plays. Why not show both of them? So Johnson's been terrific in the field. So has the infield for the Irish. Neither team has committed an error so far this series. And Notre Dame actually coming into the weekend series were the 3rd best in the ACC in fewest amount of errors. Digging in to start things off for Clemson is Drew Wharton. Wharton 2 for 4 earlier today with an RBI. That ball into the ground. Junker did give up the 1 hit and the 1 run in the first. It was that ball and then that balk that put Logan Davidson at second and then drove home the run. And that's strike 3. Down goes Wharton, and Junker's got his 3rd strikeout of the day.
He's been finding the zone. He's faced 6 batters. He's thrown 5 first pitch strikes. It's his 3rd strikeout. And when he's been in the zone, he's been tough to find so far for Clemson. Just the 1 hit. And it was the walk and the balk. 2 plays by Junker himself that did it in the first inning.
How about Cromwell finding the left field line in fair territory? And it's a 1-out double for Cromwell, the 3rd baseman. And the 2nd hit for the Tigers.
Cromwell goes opposite field a la Jake Johnson. And for a guy who's had a quiet series, gets a nice start offensively. Came in as a defensive replacement in the earlier game.
And he was good defensively, too. Had some really nice plays over at 3rd. Does get the double there. For Cromwell, it's his 4th double of the season. And taking a first pitch strike is the catcher, Kyle Wilkie. There are his stats coming into today. Batting .218. He slaps one towards short. Daly will field it on the backhand. The strong throw to first. Nice play by the shortstop to get out number 2.
And because that ball was to Cromwell's right, has no No play but to hold up at second base. So the Irish get the out and the runner holds. See a nice play by Daly, and wisely knows he has time with Wilkie, the catcher, running down the line. Doesn't have great speed.
Come on, Boomer.
Now 2 outs with Jordan Green, who had a solo home run in Game 1 today. Green was 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs.
Come on, man.
Looked a little shaken up on that play at home in the earlier game today as well, but did finish the rest of the game after sliding in to a collision with Gray.
All right, you got a batter here. Come on, Greeny.
Got the scoring started with the solo home run for Clemson.
And Clemson is 6-0 this year with Green batting in the 9th spot. His average is now above 300. You saw it was a little bit below 300 coming into today. That pitch is in the dirt, and it's going to give the opportunity for Cromwell to go over to third. Irish have had a couple of pass balls, a lot of wild pitches as well in this series, and that gives another free 90 for Clemson. That's going to be a wild pitch.
Hey, let's go, JG.
Looked like the bounce caught LaManna kind of off guard, too. He kind of stood up. Sometimes you'll see catchers do that with the ball so far in front of the plate.
Come on, Jay.
So now the 1-2. Down in the dirt, LaManna was able to stop that one. Checking the verdict over at first, but first base umpire Randall Doolin said Green did not go around.
Come on, Greeny.
David LaManna, the catcher, replacing the 4-year starter Ryan Lidge. Lidge signed with the New York Yankees last summer in their organization. Now the 2-2 is fouled
All
off.
right, keep paddling, kid.
Clemson has a hit in this inning. It's a double by Cromwell. He's over at third base. Junker trying to end any effort to getting another run. Now the 2-2 coming. Smacked into left center field. Both outfielders underneath it. But Kirshner is going to be able to get it for out number 3. Clemson strands one on third base. And we head to the bottom of the second. The Irish still looking for a run.
Beautiful free kick, JDS. Go Irish.
Bottom second, 1-0 Clemson with the early lead. Irish do have a hit, but they're looking to tie this one up early. We know how good Clemson's bullpen is. And you want to get a couple runs before you have to face them, or you want to get a lead at the very least. But so far, so good for Jake Higginbotham.
Monty Lee has shown throughout this season a willingness to pull his starters before many coaches would because of that strong bullpen. Haven't seen it as much this series because the starters have gone 6 2/3 from Jacob Hennessy yesterday. And then, of course, Crawford, who went 7 in Game 1 this morning.
Alex Kirshner will lead things off for the Irish. How about a 10-game hitting streak for the former walk-on? Senior outfielder playing in left field today. It's amazing, too. He finally got his opportunity with a 2-out, 2-run double in the 10th to beat the University of Miami back on March 10th. Then had 3 hits the next game against St. Joseph's, and he's really taken off since.
Well, he got some time last season towards the end of the year in the designated hitter spot. And this guy can just flat out hit. There's no way Mikayoki could deny that.
And he will fly out to left field this time. Got good contact, but not good enough. And Drew Wharton underneath it for out number 1.
Just enough movement on that offering from Higginbotham. Quite looked like Kirshner squared that ball up. Still was able to push it out to left field. Wharton had to take a couple of steps. And he had some trouble yesterday with the sun, so we'll have to keep an eye on that as we move into the latter part of this game. Outfielders have adjusted so far from yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday's game will start at 2:05 Eastern here in South Bend. We're just about past 3:20 local time now. But similar situation with the sun at a similar angle. A little more clouds in the air today as Gilgenbach avoids being hit by a pitch. Gilgenbach in the earlier game today was 2 for 4 with 2 runs, had 2 doubles. Now the 2-1 is hit into shallow right center field, and Seth Beer able to make the play, ranging over, and 2 quick outs now.
Cavadas, the DH, will hit. He flipped with Gilgenbach, the 6-7 spot in today's lineup, or rather this game's lineup.
Hey, come Higgins.
And Cavadas earlier today was 0 for 4 over at first base.
Hey, come back at it right here. Big, let's
He's
go.
0 for 6 in the series, but he's gotten good contact. He's not striking out. You have to figure one of these
Hey, you gotta fill it up now.
hit balls will finally land into a spot where it'll be a base hit.
Took a nice sliding catch from Seth Beer in right field yesterday to rob him of a single. He did walk and score yesterday.
He did.
What ended up being an important insurance run for our Notre Dame. And he's got a 3-0 count here.
Expect the full take
Yeah, I would think so.
with 1 out. Yeah, with a freshman batter, too, it probably makes sense. It is strike 1. Cavadas grew up just about 10-15 minutes away from the campus of the University of Notre Dame. Went to Penn High School in Granger, Indiana. He fouls that one off for a full count.
Win it right here, Hig. Hey, get us back in here.
Talk about getting good contact. It's that swing of his that's just
Come on, Hig.
very consistent. Did a good job there fending that one off. He'll slap one up the middle, beats the shift by the defense, and gets a 2-out single here in the bottom of the second.
All right, get the next one, Hig. Come on, Hig. Get the next one.
Next batter for
Cavadas
the designated
goes the
hitter,
other way with the
number
pitch. It was a fastball out on the outside part of the plate. For all the analytics, sometimes the shift beats itself. It did there. Would have been a routine ground ball for Davidson, but he was on the other side of second base.
Did work 2 or 3 times in game 1 today with that shift, including to Cavadas. There's that breaking ball to Eric Feliz, who did not play earlier today, but did start game 1 of this series, went 1 for 4. He has started 4 games this year, has a hit in all of them. So this is the 5th start for his 2018 campaign. Played at IMG Academy down in Bradenton, Florida. Originally from Englewoods Cliffs, New Jersey. The 1-1 is fouled off as well. Feliz a little late on these last couple pitches.
Play, that was right for your dog, boss. That was right at your dog. Hey, you would have been waking up. You would have been waking up with Clemson.
So Feliz has got a man on. 2 outs. The 1-2 is hit into center field. Meredith, easy play for him. And that'll be another 4 at-bat inning for Higginbotham as he retires the side for the second time. We head to the third. 1-0 Clemson here on the ACC Network Extra. A little fun here at Frank Eck Stadium on this beautiful Sunday afternoon.
Good effort
Yeah, not
from
bad.
the young man in green.
Did better than I would have. I can tell you that.
I'm glad they don't have us do that.
Yeah, right. Right.
My head spins enough on its own.
Yeah, an action-packed Sunday afternoon. Softball playing on the field next to us at Melissa Cook Stadium. A doubleheader today against Syracuse. Irish looking for a series win, a big one. It would be against Clemson. Cameron Junker has pitched 2 so far. 2 hits, gave up a run. Needs his bats to come alive to get back into it, but so far so good.
Yeah, well, he's been filling the zone with strikes, which is the most important thing. One time he got in trouble back in the first inning was a walk to Logan Davidson.
So it's the top of the order for the Clemson Tigers, starting with Kier Meredith, who's 0 for 1 today. At 6.67 batting average coming in today. He was 2 for 3 in the first game of the series. In the first game today, Meredith was 1 for 2 with an RBI and a run. It was that solo home run to right field. Meredith, regarded as the 39th ranked freshman coming out of the 2018 recruiting class. 2017, I should say. Was a draft selection of the Chicago Cubs in the 28th round of the 2017 MLB draft. Decided to go up to South Carolina, or down to South Carolina to play for the Tigers, born in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and he is retired on strikes for the second time today. He's 0 for 2.
Great location there from Junker, went on the inside part of the plate.
Next batter for the Tigers, right fielder number 28, Seth Beer.
Meredith has been a thorn in the side of Irish pitching this series, but Junker has handled him well in his first 2 contests.
And Junker is the strikeout pitcher for the Irish. Out of the 3 starters, came in today with 28 strikeouts. Already has 4 in this game, so up to 32 to go along with his 18 walks. Now the 1-0 to Seth Beer. Slap towards second. Podcool able to get it and throws over first. What a play by Nick Podcool. What range the junior infielder has shown again.
I know. Unreal.
What a fantastic play from Podcool, sliding to his left. We'll take another look. Rolled over by Beer, and Podcool had quite a ways to go. Gets it, slides, and collects himself before falling down, making the throw to beat Beer by a step. The Irish defense has been fantastic this entire weekend, and they're helping Junker out. A nice play there from Nick Podcool.
You got a season of highlights just between Cole Daly at shortstop and Nick Podcool at second base in these 3 games alone. And that is in shallow right field, but he's ranging all the way over, falling down to pick it up and throws it over. Very impressive. Brings in Logan Davidson, who has the 1 run. He walked in the first, advanced a second on the balk, and then was driven home on the single by Chris Williams. The 0-2 backdoor breaking ball could not catch the end of the zone. The 1-2 is high and tight. Logan Davidson was an All-ACC freshman selection, was part of the first team freshman All-American team by perfect game, and that is strike 3. Third base umpire A.J. Lostaglio said he went. LaManna had the catch, and that will retire the side. The 5th strikeout for Cameron Junker as we head to the bottom of the 3rd. The Irish dugout. That defense, Tom, has been spectacular this weekend. 3rd fewest errors in the conference. And here's another look at that Nick Podcool play to get Seth Beer out at first.
Just the range from not only Nick Podcool, but this infield the entire weekend has been really impressive. Looks like you can point to really any player on this defensive alignment for the Irish this weekend. It would be Jake Johnson, Eric Gilgenbach with a couple of nice throws. Really this whole defense contributing to a lot of this Irish success.
And David LaManna, the freshman catcher, has had himself a nice couple of defensive plays in his first year with the Irish. LaManna from Saddle River, New Jersey, went to Bergen Catholic. The #1 catcher catcher prospect from the state of New Jersey. He'll take strike one. Now the 2-1. Inside, so a hitter's count to LaManna, who was great yesterday. Went 2 for 3 with a run. As a designated hitter in the earlier game today, LaManna was 0 for 3. He will slap one towards short. Fielded by Davidson, no problem for him.
Higginbotham escapes. He's fallen behind a couple of batters here through the second and third inning, but for the most part has been able to work around that. Still just giving up the 2 hits. Notre Dame's had a couple of opportunities with runners on second.
Brings up the top of the order for Notre Dame. Daly getting his second crack at it. 0 for 1. He flew out to left field. He will be popped up into left field again. Drew Wharton underneath it for the second out. And Higginbotham has now forced 6 flyouts in just 2 2/3 innings.
He's been deceptive enough to where we haven't really seen the Irish hit the ball very hard, especially in the air. Cavadas soft single up the middle, and Johnson's double down the line wasn't hit particularly hard either.
Johnson is the one guy no one has been able to figure out as of late. 9 hits in his last 14 at-bats. 4 for 5 in the earlier game today, 1 for 1 here in the final game of the series. Johnson was one of the 30 nominees for the Senior Class Award for excellence on and off the field. Notre Dame has won a Senior Class Award this year already with Jake Evans, part of that Notre Dame hockey team. Fortunately took the loss last night in the national championship, but a great season for them. And so now Johnson facing a 2-2 count with 2 outs. A little high. Higginbotham on the mound, went to Buford High School in Georgia, but he's going to walk Johnson here with ball 4 on a full count, and the Irish have a man on with 2 outs.
Nice approach at the plate by Jake Johnson. Sometimes you can see hitters start to expand when they get that hot. Think they can hit just about anything, but he lays off a couple of fastballs up in the zone. A 2-out base runner for the Irish. First walk for Higginbotham today.
And it's the second time Johnson's on the bags. And now Nick Podcool, who struck out in the first, will have his second at-bat of the day with Johnson on base. Podcool's average coming in to today, 362. It's down to 358 now. But what a breakout junior year for him, of course, making that incredible play in shallow right field in the last half inning.
Starting to hit for much more power than we've seen in his first couple of years. He's slugging .569. OPS well above 1,000.
Now the 0-1 and another pop-up. Cromwell at third base using the glove for protection from the sun and catches it for out number 3. It's another 4 at-bat inning for Higginbotham, the 3rd straight. We head to the 4th. Clemson up 1-0 here on the AC. It's a nice look at Frank Eck Stadium. And Cameron Junker, who had a 1-2-3 inning with 2 strikeouts in the third, back on the bump for the top of the fourth. Both teams with 2 hits so far. Clemson, though, with the 1 run.
And Junker's really settled down after throwing 25 pitches in the first frame. Walked Davidson, who eventually came around and scored. He's thrown just 25 in the last 2. A couple of strikeouts in the last frame. He's been inducing pretty weak contact when he's been in the zone.
Yeah, 5 strikeouts for Junker. That's strike 1 to Chris Williams. Junker, a sophomore from Cincinnati, Ohio. Delivers the 0-1. And a swing and a miss. Up early on Williams, 0-2. Williams has one of the 2 hits, had the RBI in the first inning. The 0-2 check swing. He went, dropped third strike. LaManna takes his time over to Cavadas, and it's the 6th strikeout for Junker.
Williams got fooled by 3 breaking balls, took the first one for strike 1, swung over the last 2. And that breaking ball from Junker has been sharp here in the early goings. You can see starts on the outside corner and moves all the way off the plate. A nice block by LaManna, and he has plenty of time to fire down to Cavadas.
6 strikeouts already. Robert Jolly, the left-handed batter, is one of those 6 strikeouts. Struck out to end the first.
Junker's career high for strikeouts had been 4 against Purdue earlier this season, coming back on February 25th. He's already blown that out of the water, and we're only 3 1/3 in.
Hit out of play. This is a Clemson team that together coming into this third game has struck out 258 times. That's compared to the Irish 203. Notre Dame fairly good at not striking out. Gilgenbach really the only guy that has a lot of strikeouts.
That's kind of been the MO for Clemson this season. They hit a lot of home runs, don't necessarily hit for a lot of average. They strike out, rely on the long ball and the extra base hit quite a bit to manufacture their runs.
The 2-2 in there for strike 3. It's the 7th strikeout for Cameron Junker. He is dealing.
Well, Junker's showing that if you sit on the breaking ball, you can come right back. Fastball outside corner. LaManna barely has to move the glove. Easy call for Brent Rice, the home plate umpire.
And on the first pitch, it'll be a swing and a pop-up for Drew Wharton. Out in right field, the play is made by Gilgenbach. 7 strikeouts for Cameron Junker through 4 innings of work. We head to the bottom of the 4th. The Irish back at Frank Eck Stadium. Cameron Junker with 7 strikeouts already for Notre Dame. But he is not in the lead right now. It's Higginbotham with the early 1-0 lead. 2 hits apiece. Alongside Tom Peterson, I'm Nick Baldessari. Glad you could join us for Game 3 of this ACC series. Teams have split the prior 2. And it's Matt Vierling leading off for Notre Dame. Fouls one off on the first pitch. But a pitching duel so far, Tom.
Yeah, Higginbotham, to his own credit, has been excellent as well, holding the Irish to just 2 hits. Scattered those around. Just a 1 walk. There's the 3rd hit as Vierling laces that ball up the middle.
Vierling goes around first, but will head back. So it's a leadoff single for Matt Vierling. In each of the prior 3 innings, Higginbotham has had to face 4 batters. He had the double in the first by Jake Johnson, and the single in the second by Cavadas, and then another single by Johnson in the third. Or I should say a walk in the third, not a single. And now in the 4th, same story.
And the Irish had a base runner in every inning. They're 0 for 4 with runners on. So they'll have to see if on the middle part of this lineup and Kirshner, Gilgenbach can manufacture a run here.
The Irish have left 3 on base. Clemson has left 2. There's Kirshner. He's got that 10-game hitting streak. He's 0 for 1 today. Barreling over at first has 2 stolen bases. Not a direct threat to steal. There's the throw from Higginbotham over to first.
A couple times Williams has had to reach over the base runners there. A couple of semi-sporadic pickoff throws from Higginbotham. Irish, a team that does like to steal a base, put on a hit and run here and there.
Well, you're not going to necessarily bunt Kirshner now with 2 strikes. You're certainly not going to bunt Kirshner, but that's normally been the strategy with guys like Vierling or Podkuhl getting on base. Kirshner into right field. Seth Beer having to track back to the warning track. Makes the catch for out number 1. He hit that one the opposite way, but Beer with no trouble, or at least he made it look like he had no trouble, registers the first out.
This ball carried a lot further than I thought it was going to off the bat, and Beer makes a running catch up against the wall. He's really had a pretty nice defensive series, and for Vierling on first, he was about halfway there. Started to get off a bit as it looked like that ball might escape Beer's reach.
The wind is now blowing from left to right field, so that could be why it carried a little further than it initially looked like it would. So Vierling has held at first, and our Gilgenbach digging in for his second attempt of this game, 0 for 1. Big swing and a miss.
Well behind on that breaking ball. Started off Gilgenbach with the same thing to go to 0-1, now 0-2.
Gilgenbach, a junior from Rochester Hills, Michigan, went to Stony Creek High School. Pitch is outside.
Tried to go back with that breaking ball. And a little bit too much behind it, never got a chance out over the plate.
And now the 1-2 is outside. Gilgenbach has shown his power this season. Back-to-back grand slams against LSU and St. Louis in February. That was the first time since 2002 a Notre Dame player had done so. And that earned him ACC Co-Player of the Week. 3 home runs, 9 RBIs in that week. When the Irish defeated LSU twice in 3 games down in Baton Rouge. Notre Dame certainly has shown they can beat top 10 competition. 4 wins against the top 10. They find themselves 3-17 on the year, but hang with anybody, especially in the ACC.
Well, they showed yesterday that they could beat Clemson as Mike Aoki throws some signs in. 3-2 count. Wouldn't be surprised here if we see Vierling take off on the pitch.
He does. The 3-2, swing and a miss. Vierling will get his base as that was foul tipped into the glove of Wilkie. So Gilgenbach strikes out, but the runner now in scoring position with Matt Vierling.
Yeah, second strikeout for Higginbotham today. And you can see from the back view, Gilgenbach gets just a piece of that and makes that transfer for Wilkie just a little bit more challenging. Notre Dame 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position, but Cavadas, who has a single already today, gets a shot with 2 outs.
Yeah, Cavadas has been good. He's got one of the 2 hits. One of the 3 hits, excuse me. with Vierling with the leadoff single, now on second. The 0-1 to Cavadas. In there for strike two.
Higginbotham has really been favoring that breaking ball now through the second time through this lineup.
Pop up. It looks to be in foul territory, but Cromwell, the third baseman, makes the play. The Irish leave a man on second. They've left 4 on base through 4. We head to the 5th. Clemson up 1-0 here, Frank Eck Stadium on the ACC. Gotta give credit to the fans that have stuck through the cold weather. It is sunny outside, but still about 45 degrees, dipping into the low 40s this afternoon for some Notre Dame and Clemson baseball. And it's been a fun weekend overall. We had the rain delay and rain out on Friday, but these last 3 games, this being the third, have gone efficiently. They've been good baseball on both sides. Notre Dame hosts a good ACC series.
Yeah, both these teams playing well, especially defensively. The pitching, for the most part, has been good, especially the bullpens. And at the same time, offense has not been at a premium, but every run has counted in a couple of close contests.
Yeah, just 5 hits between the two teams through 4 innings. The 1 run in the top of the first for Clemson, as Cromwell, who had the last out in the field to end the 4th, over at third base, leads things off for Clemson. He had a double in the 2nd inning. Gets a hold of one there. It goes out of play.
Sent a ball down the left field line in his first at bat. Pulled Kirshner all the way through the wall.
The 0-2 from Junker, and it's going to be another base hit for Cromwell. He is 2 for 2. He's got 2 of the 3 hits for the Tigers, and it's a leadoff single.
Next batter for the Tigers.
0-2, and Junker tried to get a breaking ball on the inside corner, down and in, and it caught quite a bit of the plate. And credit to Cromwell, who was able to turn on that ball, roll it right through the hole on the right side of the infield between Podkul and Cavadas.
A nice piece of hitting from the third baseman. Wilkie in the batter's box had a home run in the first game today. He shows bunt on the first pitch. It's now the 5th at bat for Clemson with runners on base. They're 1 for 4 so far.
Not surprised that Wilkie is showing bunt here. Junker's been good, and Wilkie definitely a double play candidate. Grounded out in his last at bat to short.
That bunt is foul. So now the count is 1-1. And so far it's been a pitcher's duel. So you take any run when you can get them when they're at a premium like this.
You got to think in the 8th spot too with Jordan Green. This series and really this season when he's been in the 9th spot has really worked as like an effective second leadoff man. Of course, Meredith, who in limited action has been good as well, so trying to turn this lineup over.
The 1-1, oh, showed the bunt, but going to swing towards left. Kirshner makes the play, and going all the way back to first is Cromwell. He does get back in time. An interesting play. Looked like a hit and run at the very end, but the out on the fly ball causes Cromwell to go back to first, and now there's 1 out in the inning.
A lot of things going on in that play. Wilkie shows bunt. Cromwell is going to take off almost like a hit and run. That's going to pull Vierling in, and then Wilkie pulled back, got a good piece of that ball, and Kirshner had to give chase to it, made a nice catch on the run. Fired in, chasing Cromwell back to first.
Jordan Green, who had a home run in the first game today as well, just like Wilkie did. It was the 8-9-1 hitters that had the home runs. Kier Meredith on deck right now. The 0-1 pitch. Junker, who's got 7 strikeouts already, That one in the dirt. LaManna keeps it in front of him. For Jordan Green, from Fort Mill, South Carolina. His father, Anthony, was a defensive back at Wake Forest. Green just 5'8", 170, but shows the power ability, and he did so with his 5th home run of the season. That one is fouled off. I should say the 3rd home run of the season.
Mentioned that Junker's already set a new career high for strikeouts. Next out he records will be a new career high for length. Most innings pitched in a game. Through 4 1/3 against Florida State.
Now, this has got to be one of the best starts and best appearances we've seen from Junker. Forget the 7 strikeouts, but just the fluidity of the innings as well. I mean, he's had, up until this inning, 2 straight, 3 up, 3 down innings. Did give up the leadoff walk, but has 1 out and a 1-2 count. The delivery. Smack towards the hot corner. Veerling couldn't get it, and it's a base hit for Jordan Green. The 4th of the day for the Tigers. They now have 2 men on with 1 out.
Green a little bit out in front of this ball, but does a nice job rolling the hands over just past the outstretched glove of Veerling. And he trots down to first. That would have been a tough play for Veerling. And would have been interesting with Green's speed where he would have gone with that ball. Probably hit hard enough that he would have had to play at second, but I don't know if he would have been able to stand up, throw, and get the speedy Green down to first base.
I was going to say, Tom, now it's a tough position for Cameron Junker with 2 men on. And the top of the order. Kier Meredith might be the most important out of this inning. Not only for his speed, but you put him on, you have Beer with the bases loaded, unless Meredith drives 1 in. Pitch is inside, 2-0.
Meredith has 2 strikeouts on the day. And Beer has been retired twice, but you never take that for anything more than just, you handled him twice, and he's just as dangerous when he comes up the 3rd time.
It's easy to say, too. Podkuhl stealing a base hit from Beer to finish off the 3rd. This is slapped towards second, gets by Podkuhl in between first and second, coming around 3rd and home. He is safe. That is Cromwell, and it's 2-0 Clemson. All runners safe on the bases. It's the corners with just the 1 out, and an RBI single for Kier Meredith.
Green goes first to 3rd. You can see where Podkuhl's aligned here in double play depth. He's shaded more up the middle. Gilgenbach gets to this ball fairly quickly, but nice speed from Cromwell.
Come on, Beer. Base not, kid. Beer here. Base not.
Yeah, LaManna then checked first with his throw because Meredith had a huge leadoff, thinking about turning 2. LaManna's quick throw to first kept Meredith there, but we've seen this situation as well. Meredith very likely to steal second as Beer hacks and fouls the first pitch. For Meredith, he adds his 2nd RBI now in just 3 games. He's got a triple, a home run, a couple of singles. A nice start to his career at Clemson for sure.
Saw this exact same situation earlier in the first game this morning. There's the 3rd to first move from Junker. Would not be surprised if at some point we see Meredith take off for second base.
Yeah, he's got 2 stolen bases this series. Lightning speed over at first. Junker checks the 0-1. Beer checks swing. That's ball 1. Seth Beer, 44 career home runs. That's 9th all-time already in Clemson history. He hit a home run in 4 straight games this season in late March. First time that's happened in Clemson history since 2005. Now the 1-1 out. Lamanna will throw, and that gets by the shortstop Daly. It's going to be an easy run for Green. That's what Clemson wanted to do, put the Irish in a tough position. And for a defense that has been nearly flawless all weekend, makes a mistake, and it costs them a run.
First real mistake you can point to on the defensive side. Looked like Lamanna was hesitant there for a second, making the throw down to second. We'll take another look. He takes a look at third, and then Daly tries to run through that ball to pick and throw home. It gets to center, and to add insult to injury, Meredith goes ahead and replaces Green at third.
And even if Daly's able to get his glove on, that's a tough play to make it home with Green coming in hot from third. So Beer still in the batter's box. He now has Meredith over at third and still just the 1 out. First error from either team in this series. Beer got a piece of that one, but it's foul. So now full count to Beer. You know, he's looking for a fastball. Trying to get a barrel underneath it. And here's the payoff pitch coming from Junker. And it's inside for ball 4. Lamanna did a good job of keeping in front of him so Meredith doesn't come home.
Looks like that might have caught Beer on the foot.
I was going to say, it took a very funny bounce. It's a tough angle for us up here, but perhaps you're correct. Either way, it does give Clemson the corners with just the 1 out. There's a double play ball in play, and already Andrew Belsick warming up in the bullpen for Notre Dame.
Saw Belsick for a third of an inning yesterday, recorded 1 out.
So meeting at the mound. This inning has gotten a little out of hand for Notre Dame. That's Mick Aoki out there. So it's a full count to Seth Beer. What I originally thought was ball 4. I think you're right, Tom. I think it did hit him in the foot. Tough to see that angle, but you certainly see it come up right by his foot.
Here, where's that front shin guard you can see on the front right ankle?
Yeah,
and it catches him right on that shin guard, yeah.
Yeah, no question. So Junker will stay in. Runners on the corner. And for Logan Davidson, who steps in. He walked in the first, struck out in the third.
Irish have 3 infielders on the right side. Daly has shifted over. Irish playing even with the bag.
First pitch, foul back. Here's Davidson's line, 267 the average coming into today. The switch hitter, sophomore, 6'3", 185 from Charlotte, North Carolina. High pop-up, heading towards out of play, and it will. Right in the walkway between the dugout and the stands. And Logan Davidson, we've seen his ability at shortstop too. Talking about Cole Daly for Notre Dame, and he's an exciting player. A sophomore that was an original draft pick of the Philadelphia Phillies. And certainly one of the best prospect shortstops in the ACC. He now faces an 0-2 count. Junker the delivery, and it's slapped to the right in foul territory. And Tom, Irish had, with Junker, a very good first 4 innings. The 5th inning here has been a little dicey.
Yeah, a couple of hits. Cromwell got things started with the single. And then Green and Meredith, who have really been tag teaming this offensive attack for Clemson. A couple of singles, and they put the pressure on again with their speed on the base pass. This time the Irish couldn't quite handle it.
This is popped up. In play in the infield, it looks like it's going towards foul territory. LaManna makes the catch for out number 2, and an important out with 2 men on. That's a big out for Junker, too.
Yeah, the wheels had started to fall off a little bit here in the 5th inning for Junker. 3 straight had reached. Already 2 runs were in.
And now Mikayoki again coming over to the mound. And that will be a pitching change. 7 strikeouts for Cameron Junker. Might have more earned runs than the 3 on the board already. It's Andrew Belsick out of the pen who inherits runners at the corners.
First arm out of the pen. Cameron Junker's day is done. It'll be Andrew Belsick making his 18th appearance on the season and 2nd of this series. You see the numbers for the middle reliever for the Irish. 1-1 record, 1 save, has thrown 23 1/3 innings. 23 strikeouts to 14 walks. Really got off to a hot start to his sophomore career and has struggled in the middle part of the season against Florida State. And a similar situation coming in a high leverage moment as he did yesterday. Runners on the corner, 2 outs. The Irish trying to limit the damage with Clemson already putting up a 2 spot here in the top of the 5th.
Yeah, I just pitched a 1/3 of an inning, as you alluded to, Tom, in yesterday's game. Mikayoki wanted to preserve him for game 3 of this series. And he's got a tough assignment. Runners on the corners and Chris Williams in the batter's box. But just needs 1 out to get out of the inning, and he might get it out of the first pitch. Nick Podcool will get the out, and the job is done. 1 pitch, 1 out for Andrew Belsick, and the end of the top of the 5th. But Clemson gets 2 runs on 3 hits. The Irish commit an error. They need their bats down 3-0 as we head to the bottom of the 5th. Today, the Irish didn't score their first run in the earlier game today until the 7th inning. That was not the case in yesterday's win when they scored 2 in the 1st and then added 1 in the 4th, eventually 2 in the 7th and the 8th. They need their bats here to get back into this one.
Higginbotham has been really fantastic here through 4+ innings. And the other thing, Nick, is that we came into this series expecting for the Clemson bullpen to dominate. Not that they haven't been good, they just really haven't been needed, which for them is not something they're accustomed to.
Yeah, Notre Dame got 2 runs on the bullpen yesterday, but you're absolutely right. And then also 2 in the earlier game today. But other than that, you're right. They haven't been needed in the sense that the starters have gone off to such great leads. It was 6-0 Clemson in that first game. And it's 3-0 here early in game 3. A lot of standing around in Clemson's bullpen. And that's kind of what we're alluding to, right? The starting pitching has just been so good. And Higginbotham delivering a performance just like Brooks Crawford did in game 1 today. But it's a leadoff walk on 4 pitches to Eric Feliz, the designated hitter. And the Irish have a man on board.
Well, the Irish have not had a shortage of base runners. They've put a man on in every inning so far, including now bottom of the 5th. They get the leadoff walk on 4 straight balls from Higginbotham. Problem still over 3 with runners in scoring position, over 7 with runners on base.
Yeah, I think that stat alone tells it all, right? 0 for 7 with runners on base. LaManna on the first pitch. Hits one to opposite field. And Seth Beer, right near the warning track, is able to make the play. That one carrying a little further than it initially looked like, but an easy play nonetheless.
That the wind, although it picked up earlier, Nick, as you mentioned, on a couple of fly balls to right field, it has yet again died down. Flags more or less have stopped flying in the wind.
Yeah, fairly calm here today. It's been a beautiful day. A little chilly, mid-40s, but the sun has been out for the most part. A little cloudy now here as we've hit 4:15 local Eastern time. And Cole Daly gets his third attempt in this game. He's 0 for 2 so far. Average down to 290. You saw the average he was coming in with today. He falls behind 0-2. Feliz over at first, taken by the left-handed pitcher. Checks first, and that's going to be strikeout number 3. Down on strikes is Daly. He was caught looking, and there are now 2 outs in the bottom of the 5th.
Breaking ball on the outside corner. Looked like, from our vantage point up here in the booth, that Wilkie set up a little bit further outside than he normally does. What got the call is he didn't have to move too far from his intended target.
That breaking ball is quite nasty. Throw over to first.
Shown the ability, especially against left-handers, to start it middle outside and really snap it off so it moves outside of the zone. Has nice late movement. And when the Irish left-handed hitters and hitters in general have been able to lay off the breaking ball out of the zone, then he can come back with that fastball, 90 to 93 with the heat.
Yeah, he's been terrific. The one guy he has not gotten down yet is Jake Johnson. 1 for 1 with the walk. There's strike 1 of the count. Johnson had a double in the first inning, was stranded there, then walked, and was stranded at first. Back in the 3rd inning. He will slap one towards first base. Williams makes the play, and an easy 1-2-3 inning right after giving up the walk to Feliz. 4 batters faced, and Higginbotham has pitched an excellent 5. We had Irish with 3 hits but no runs. It's been all Clemson here today. They won game 1 of this doubleheader 6-3. They have an early 3-run lead in this one. Andrew Belsick, though, on the mound. All it took was 1 pitch to get out of the inning, coming into relief for Cameron Junker in the top of the 5th.
Got out with a harmless pop-up from Williams to Podkel. Now making his 2nd relief appearance of the series.
Yeah, now 2/3 of an inning pitch for him. Makioki probably wants him to go a couple more. See if he can go perhaps 2 innings in this effort, if not more. He's got to face off against the 5, 6, 7 hitters, starting with Robert Jolly.
Well, he's shown the ability to go multiple innings. Set a career high in 4 2/3 innings pitched of relief against St. Louis back on February 22nd. And he has thrown over 2 innings 4 times aside from that outing.
This one hit into right field, but Gilgenbach doesn't even have to move to register the first out. Yeah, and for Belsick, a guy that only had 3 appearances last year, a 20.25 ERA. Makioki has talked many times and told us many times that he's really pleased with the maturity that Belsick has progressed through over the last year. Thought he wasn't really mature enough as a pitcher, not just a student athlete, but as a pitcher primarily, to be able to come into big situations, and the big right-hander certainly has taken that next step this year. So Jolly retired for the 3rd time, struck out the last 2, and now it's Drew Wharton who has struck out and flown out. He pops up behind home plate. The 0-2 count. Wharton hits one to short. Cole Daly fields and makes the play for out number 2. So 3 up, 3 down for Belsick in his 3 outs registered so far, and he's got 2 here in the top of the 6th.
Moving quickly, took him just 1 pitch to get out of last inning. And he's got 2 outs with just 5 pitches here in the top of the 6th.
And Belsick has a fairly unique delivery to his regimen.
And you can see the front leg kind of crosses over the body as another first pitch swinging.
And Podcool will throw it over to first to Cavadas. It's been an inning and third in relief for Belsick, and it's been a quick inning and a third. We now head to the bottom of the 6th. The Irish still looking for runs. It's been a nearly perfect 5 innings pitched by Higginbotham. He has given up a base runner in each of the 5 innings, but right after giving up that base runner, there's been nothing for Notre Dame to follow.
Yeah, that's where the damage has stopped for the Irish. And the amazing thing is that he's been giving up these base runners for the last 3 innings. 15 pitches in the 3rd and the 4th, just 11 in the 5th. So once he gives up that base runner, he's working very quickly. Spreading the hits around, he's walked just 2.
And it's the 3-4-5 hitter, so it's the heart of the lineup for Notre Dame, and it's the 3rd time through the lineup. Starting with Nick Podcool, who's 0 for 2. I mean, all 5 innings have just been 4 batters faced in each one of them. So you have the guy that gets on base, and then 3 outs. And now a 2-1 count to Podcool. The Irish have had a leadoff hit the last 2 innings, but have not been able to do much with it.
Well, the thing you have to cling to if you're the Irish offense is that it's still only a 3-run deficit.
And there's another leadoff hit. This time it's Nick Podcool. And so for the 3rd straight inning, a leadoff single aboard for Notre Dame. But you're absolutely right, Tom. Still plenty of time and plenty of opportunity to get back into it.
Podcool right over the top, didn't hit that ball terribly hard, just found a hole. Irish still 0 for with runners on base.
0 for 10. Kind of backs up what we were talking about earlier. Vierling, though, hits one into center field. It'll drop. Podcool round second into third. He'll be held at third, and it's a stand-up double with no outs for Matt Vierling. Here come the Irish.
Well, aggressive here early from Vierling, gets his 2nd hit of the day. This time a double stretches as well, and Meredith in center field has been shifting to the left side of the outfield from behind home plate's vantage point the entire game, especially when Vierling's up playing him to pull. That time he goes the little tailing ball into right center field.
Yeah, he's on the left side of the clover out there in center field. This one, went straight into center field, but veered towards the right part of that clover. And there was no chance for Meredith. So there's a meeting on the mound between catcher Kyle Wilkie and Jake Higginbotham. And the bullpen finally looking alive over there for Clemson.
No more chatter now. It's business for the bullpen. It's like 39 down there. Travis Marr, freshman right-hander, starting to get loose.
Yeah, we haven't seen him this series, although there have only been 5 pitchers in total before this game for Clemson. And it will be a pitching change after all, and that'll be it for Higginbotham.
Travis Marr coming in out of the bullpen for the Tigers in a jam, 2 men on. the junior tandem of Podkuhl and Vierling have chased Jake Higginbotham here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Runners on 2nd and 3rd. It'll be up to redshirt freshman Travis Marr out of the bullpen, the right-hander, coming in relief. The numbers on the season very solid. 10 appearances so far, 3 wins, just a 2.92 ERA, and 19 strikeouts and just 8 walks. He comes in, Nick, in a very challenging situation. The Irish have had runners on all base all day, but this is definitely the most threatening opportunity they've had so far.
And it's Alex Kirshner with his 3rd crack at it. Coming into this game with a 10-game hitting streak. Might have one more bat after this one. This one is foul and hits the netting before going down to the dugout. Chris Williams making the attempt at it over at first base. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Tom. This is the best opportunity Notre Dame has had in this game. They're now all even with Clemson with 5 hits. They just have not been able to get anybody home. In fact, that last double by Vierling was the first hit they've had with runners on. They're 1 for 11 in that department now. Kirshner's average is at .321. He's batting .364 with runners in scoring position. He has been terrific here in his senior season. That one outside. You saw Wilkie showing all the way out there. They wanted to see if they could get Kirshner to chase.
Nick, it's interesting that we talked about how frequently.
And the throw to second. And they're going to say he's safe. Beg your pardon, Tom. It's a close play over at second. Vierling is safe because the ball was dropped. But, man, I don't think Vierling was ready for that.
That caught us off guard as well up here in the booth.
No kidding.
Take a look at that spin. It's definitely a setup pickoff play. Green's looking for the ball, and so was the umpire, was underneath Vierling the whole time. Not sure if Vierling knocked it out or if Green never actually got the full glove on it.
It looked like maybe the collision with Vierling and the glove knocked it loose. So Vierling safe at second. Irish still with their best opportunity and a chance to capitalize off of it. Kirshner fouls that one off. I think I mentioned it earlier, but I just thought it was fantastic to hear that Alex Kirshner had a great-great-grandfather that played football at Notre Dame back in 1897. And for a guy that was once a walk-on, has become a staple in the starting lineup. With a 1-2, will slap it up the middle. This will bring home a run for Notre Dame. Kirshner is out at first, but it's an RBI for him as Podkuhl runs home from third, and it's 3-1 Clemson here in the bottom of the 6th.
Kirshner getting it done any way he can. And the infield, at least up the middle for Clemson on that play, playing at normal depth. That actually also deflected partially off of Marr's glove as well. Only play for Green was first. Still just 1 out, but the Irish get a much-needed run. They cut the deficit back to just 2. And they still have Vierling, who advanced down at third base.
Yeah, and a fly ball here from Gilgenbach out in the outfield will probably score Vierling. Gilgenbach 0 for 2. Did strike out in his last plate appearance back in the 4th inning. Vierling to deep center field. Underneath it is the center fielder Meredith, but Vierling will have an easy time running home the last 90 on the base paths, and it's 3-2 Clemson. 2 big runs here for Notre Dame.
They produce. They're still going to show up 0 for 5 now with runners in scoring position, but they got the 2 runs in. That is all you can ask for. Gilgenbach hits this ball pretty hard, but right at the center fielder Meredith, way deep, and Vierling able to trot home.
For Gilgenbach, it's RBI number 21. Kirshner added his 12th on that last at bat for him. So now 2 runs in 2 straight at bats, but no men on with 2 outs. Nico Cavadas in the batter's box. The left-handed hitter is 1 for 2 today. That one in the ground.
Singled up the middle back in the second inning.
Yeah, he's seen the ball well lately. A lot of contact. Does get contact towards second, and Jordan Green makes the play over at second base for out number 3. But 2 runs in the inning for the Irish on 2 hits. They are within. Beautiful shot of the campus of the University of Notre Dame. Golden Dome on the right, the Basilica on the left, and Notre Dame getting 2 runs in the bottom of the 6th. Very, very important as we now head to the 7th.
This game has really tightened up. It was all Clemson for a while, but even so, they could only put up 3 runs, and credit to Andrew Belsick, who has come in an inning in the 3rd of relief and has really calmed the storm here. Had a really quick 7-pitch top of the 6th inning, giving the Irish the stability they need out of the bullpen, and the offense finally came through after a couple of leadoff hits to start the inning from Podkul and Vierling.
Both those runs are earned for Higginbotham, who left them stranded after getting taken out of the game in relief. Marr came in and got the 3 outs. It's 3-2 with Belsick on the mound. Still for Notre Dame, has pitched an inning and a 3rd, and he faces off against the catcher, Kyle Wilkie. It's the 8-9-1 hitters for Clemson. Part of the lineup that has done their job today.
And then some. Wilkie 0 for 2, but had the home run in the earlier game today, game 1 of the doubleheader. We could spend an entire inning talking about Jordan Green and Kiera Meredith, 9 and 1 in the order respectively.
That's inside for ball 2, and especially on a day where Seth Beer and Chris Williams haven't been what you typically expect from those 2.
And really the whole series, it's been kind of an amalgam of other Clemson players that have stepped up. Beer had the 2 hits yesterday, but other than that has been pretty quiet. Williams does have an RBI single today.
It'll be a leadoff walk for Wilkie on 5 pitches. But yeah, I mean, this is the lineup, and that's, I mean, you probably would point to this and say why they are 24-7 on the year. That alongside with their pitching staff that's so good, one of the best in the ACC and the country. But they get production from everybody in the lineup. Jordan Green, who's been, the 2-spot hitter, he's been the 9-spot hitter. Inserting Kiera Meredith, who's on deck, into the lineup finally.
Good trot, Ollie. Good trot.
This team looks to advance past the regional, which they have gotten to the last 2 years under head coach Monte Lee, who's in his 3rd season. And I think you would agree with me. This is a year where they probably have a chance to do so. They have enough of a bullpen to really get them through those tough games. Enough power. You might want to see a better average as the season goes on, especially throughout the latter parts of this ACC season. But they have everything you want in a team that is geared up for a deep postseason run.
A lot of times when you have a power-hitting team, you worry just if the bats go cold, how are you going to manufacture runs? And that worry still exists to some extent for Clemson. But the comforting thing for their team and their fans is that this pitching staff is so good that it's not going to take a whole lot of runs for them to be in ball games. Got a deep bullpen. The starters, especially this weekend, have shown that they can go deeper into the game.
The 0-2 from Belsick is hit into right field. Tracking back is Gilgenbach and catches it out of the air. But you're right, I mean, this is a team that they may not have that bona fide ace either, right? They don't have a guy that you're going to put out on Friday, like, say, Griffin Roberts, who we saw a couple weeks back for Wake Forest. But they have a staff by committee. That's why they have such a low ERA, I should say. First in the ACC at 3.11 coming into this weekend series. And, you look down the roster, I mean, it's, so many left-handers, so many right-handers out of the pen. They still have 3 solid starters. I'm not saying those are 3 guys you can't depend on. You certainly can, and we've seen that throughout today, especially this doubleheader. The two starters have been terrific.
Well, that was a big question mark for them this season. They lost all three of their weekend starters from a season ago, and when they kind of announced who it was going to be, when Hennessy was the Friday starter, when you got Higginbotham on the Sunday slot, and then Crawford coming in on the game 2 the Saturday, who we saw earlier this morning, that was a big question mark. A lot of people around the program weren't sure how that was going to work out. They've pitched beautifully this entire season. They've really solidified, and as a head coach, you love that. Sometimes you got to take a risk and see what works. And for Monte Lee, whatever he saw in the beginning of the season, it worked and then some.
Oh, what a play by Daly at short. The flip to Podkel in time, and how about a double play for Notre Dame? The 6-4-3 ends the inning, and we are going to head to the bottom of the 7th. No. Just like in game 1 earlier today, the umpires are going to check this. I got a little too excited, but what a play on the field. I think the call being argued is at first base to see whether or not Green is safe. Excuse me, that's Kier Meredith. Let's take a look at it.
The call out there from Randall Doolin down at first. Meredith, the speed we've talked about, has got a case for one.
I think they do too. What a play by Daly at shortstop again. I feel like we've said his name so many times this weekend. He had the diving save, the diving glove save, I should say, in the earlier game. Let's take a look at this play at first. Great job by our control room and camera crew. Michaela Powers in our replay control room, and look at that. He's right at I think you're right, Tom. I think he is safe by a step. Heck of an effort, but
for the fact that was even close up the middle, especially on a play where Daly is on the ground when he makes that play. You know, if that's hit right at him, the Irish might have a better chance to turn 2. But with the speed on the base pass of Meredith,
there's one look at it. I think the ball is on the ground. Cavadas' glove, you see the glove move, and I think by that time Meredith is already safe. It's a beautiful glove at shortstop for Cole Daly. But Meredith seems to be safe at first, and that's what's being argued here, and that's what's being reviewed here by the umpires.
Well, they definitely got Wilkie at second. Podkel coming across the bag.
Let's take another look at it. Different angle. There's that beautiful glove by Daly, the flip to second. Podkel, the throw over to Cavadas. The call on the field is out, too. Keep that in mind. So it has to be indisputable evidence, but from that first angle, I think you and I both agree that he is most likely going to be called safe.
Yeah, here's the slowed down version. There's the ball.
That angle makes it a little harder to for sure call him safe. Belsick still warming up.
Doing whatever he can on still a brisk afternoon to stay loose, stay warm.
You have to. Let's take one more look. So the umpires have all these looks as well, and from my point of view and my opinion here, I think he's safe. I think that angle is good as well, but I think he gets in time. They're going to call him safe, and there'll be 2 outs in the inning.
You're going to see the ball come in here. You can see it about the middle part of your screen.
Yeah, ball is still on the ground, and then it pops up into the glove. And if that's the angle and the viewpoint that the umpires are getting, I think they'll say the exact same thing. But they're taking their time, too, on this one.
Yeah, well, it is not conclusive one way or the other, I wouldn't say. But some great angles provided by our camera crew. We had about 3 or 4 good looks at that play down the line.
Well, they've been terrific all weekend. We've seen a lot of different angles. We saw one earlier in that first game. We had a zoomed-in look at it, too, over at second base on a close play. And now here come the umpires. We'll see what the call on the field is. You and I both agree that he should be safe. We could be wrong. And he is out. The call is not overturned. It is kept on the field. You and I are both mistaken. So how about that double play? It's a 6-4-3. Cole Daly flips it to Nick Podcool. Podcool takes his time, delivers the firing ball over to first, and Cavadas gloves it right at the end. We head to the bottom of the 7th, 3-2 Clemson. Just past the 7th inning stretch here at Frank Eck Stadium, 3-2 Clemson, and a pinch hitter will lead things off, Daniel Jung, his 3rd pinch hit at bat of this series, 1 in each game, and that first game, Tom had a solo home run to right field.
Provided a nice insurance run for the Irish. Went on to win that game 5-2.
Jung on the second pitch will foul it off, so he falls behind 0-2 as Travis Marr from Castle Rock, Colorado, still on the mound for Clemson. There's Daniel Jung's season stats. Hit that 3rd home run yesterday. That one high and tight.
Marr came in through an inning of relief work last inning. Didn't give up a hit, but allowed the 2 inherited runners to score.
The 0-2 is driven into right center field. There's Meredith, though, making the play from the clover all the way to the right part of it for out number 1.
Next batter for your Fighting Irish.
Next batter for the Irish will be David Lamanna, the catcher, who is 0 for 2 today. Another look at that play. Looked like some good contact from Jung. He's had some good contact this weekend in his 3 pinch hit at bats, but no problem for Meredith. Lamanna will take a first pitch strike. Or a second pitch strike, excuse me. 1-1 is the count. Irish got 2 runs in the bottom of the 6th. Looking to tie things up here in the 7th. That's going to drop down for a base hit. Lamanna's on board. He will round first but head back. And it's a 1-out single for the freshman catcher.
3rd single of the weekend for Lamanna. Had 2 yesterday in game 1. And he turns the lineup over here for Daly. Smooth swing. And that lands well in front of Wharton, who has to play it off the bounce. Fastball over the middle of the plate from Marr. And the first hit he has conceded on his afternoon.
Man, Lamanna's been hitting the ball real well lately. Was slotted as the designated hitter in the earlier game today because of how well he hit it at the catcher's position in yesterday's win for Notre Dame. And now it's the top of the lineup, too. Cole Daly, 0 for 3 so far. And a swing and a miss.
Rare chase there from Daly. Don't see that too often from outside of the zone. Perhaps feeling the 0 for 3.
Yeah, he chased that one a little outside, too. Maybe in the strike zone that time, though. Now 1-2 count. Daly struck out looking in his last plate appearance back in the 5th. Irish again out hitting Clemson 6-5, but they trail on the scoreboard 3-2. 27 hits in the 3 games so far. Marr sizes up. The 2-2 high, and now a full count.
Full count on Daly in the outfield for Clemson. Shifted to the left. You see the large gap between Meredith and Beer. Even though the lefty Cole Daly is up at the plate. Big hole in right center.
The payoff pitch hit into center field, and because of that shift, Meredith is right there on the left side of the clover, and the shift works.
Truly unbelievable stuff from the Clemson scouting department right there. Promise they did not tell me to mention that shift, but Meredith was perfectly placed, and Daly, who might have had a base knock in a standard outfield positioning.
Well, we saw that shift too with Matt Vierling, the right-handed batter. That time it worked to their disadvantage. Vierling hit it on the right side of the clover in the outfield for a base hit. This time it works. Sometimes the shift and the analytics work for you, sometimes they don't. But it seems they work more often than not, and that's why Clemson has instituted them. And on the outfield now, Meredith much more in center than he was on that last at-bat. And Jake Johnson, he's got a 1-1 count. It's 1 for 2 this afternoon. There's a look at Meredith out in center field. That is fouled off, out of play. So with that last out for Cole Daly, the Irish are now 1 for 13 with runners on base. But Johnson is the man to change that. The 1-2 is outside.
Well, he's done an excellent job in these situations this season, hitting .302 with runners on base, .406 with 2 outs, so he's been tough to get to end the frame.
Which tied the series at 1 apiece, this being the decisive Game 3. Travis Marr, the Irish leave another on base. That's the 6th they've left on base. 4 hitters due up. Top of the 8th, and a pitching change for Notre Dame.
Left-hander Cameron Brown, the sophomore, to begin after making an appearance in Chicago State where he threw 4 1/3, got the start in that contest. He's got 3 starts on the season, but has worked out of the bullpen as well. 24 2/3 innings pitched, 10 walks, 21 strikeouts, ERA at 5.47. And he's going to get a couple of lefties. Seth Beer, namely the lefty coming up to start this inning for Clemson. And with the switch hitting Davidson on the mound, it could be a 1-batter outing for Cameron Brown.
Yeah, Brown has pitched very well in the midweek starts as of late. Got the win against Chicago State on Tuesday night. And it's a pair of Colorado guys on the mounds for both teams. Cameron Brown from Lakewood, Colorado, went to Evelyn High School. Travis Marr for Clemson, who's on the mound just recently, is from Castle Rock, Colorado. You're right, it's going to be a tough go at it to begin with it because Seth Beer is on the mound, the left-handed hitter who's 0 for 2 today, but certainly we've mentioned a couple times, it doesn't really matter what he is in a certain game. He is always a threat. The 2, 3, 4 hitters with Logan Davidson on deck and Chris Williams in the hole. Davidson, a switch hitter on deck, who would most likely bat righty. First pitch was fouled off by Beer. The 0-1 a little high.
No one else swarming right now in the Irish bullpen. So Brown could be slotted to go at least an inning here.
Now the 0-1 fouled off. For Belsick. Belsick went 2 innings and a third. No hits, no runs, no walk, or I should say 1 walk, no strikeouts. Total of 19 pitches, 14 strikes too. He was really good in his 2 1/3 innings of work. Now Beer slaps one towards the first baseline. It is fair. This one going for extra bases all the way to the wall. And it's a sliding leadoff double for Seth Beer.
Pretty similar looking at bat and result to what he had in the latter part of the opener in this series yesterday. Rolls over the top of that ball and beats the shift. This time it gets past Gilgenbach, and he's able to stretch this into 2 bases. No play there at second base. And Clemson looking to perhaps get a crucial insurance run or two.
Davidson laying down a beautiful bunt. Veerling has a strong arm, but not in time to get Davidson. And it's a bunt single for the shortstop, and now runners on the corners with no outs.
Come on, Chris.
Second time this weekend that Clemson has gone for a bunt in what would normally be a sacrifice situation. The first was from Meredith. He singled in the infield with the bunt, and this time Davidson drops one down. You can see that hesitation there from Brown. The left-hander would have been a tough play for him.
And already a mound visit. 2 batters into his relief appearance. Well, it's so tough, too. I mean, that's your 3-spot hitter in Davidson putting down a bunt. He's got the power to hit out of the park, but the speed and ability to lay down a bunt that effectively. You see the bullpen. It's Tommy Vale, the left-hander, and the right-hander, Anthony Holobecki.
Saw both of those players in game 1 briefly, but they just started throwing.
Yeah, they just got up out of the pen, so it'll probably take a little while for them to get fully warmed up. Brown sticking on the mound for now, the sophomore. Did not pitch in 2017 as a freshman. Was a 3-sport athlete, though, in high school. Played basketball and football along with baseball. And he's got some work to do. Runners on the corners, no outs, and it's Chris Williams.
Irish infield playing even. Middle still slotted at double play positioning, although they all are even with the base pass.
And Williams will get a single right past Cavadas at first. It's an RBI single for Williams, and all the way to third is Logan Davidson. And the Tigers have added a run here in the 8th.
Everyone swapped spots there, and the second RBI single for Chris Williams. And it comes in a big spot. And Cavadas, who was holding the runner on and playing in, that just gets past him. And great reaction from Davidson to go first to third on a ball that really was not hit very deep. And Gilgenbach, who was playing at normal depth in the outfield, had to come in on that ball quite a bit.
So 3 straight hits for Brown. Thinking perhaps that Lamanna's buying some time going out to the mound to get the pitchers in the bullpen extra warmed up. It hasn't been the outing Cameron Brown was hoping for. And for Chris Williams, came into today 5th in the ACC in RBIs with 30. He's added 2 today. He's got 32. He would go ahead of Johnny Aiello unless the Demon Deacon has added an RBI today in his game. And this is slapped towards second. Daly makes the play. Flip over to first to Podcool. And it's a 6-4-3 double play, but another run added for the Tigers.
Yeah, I got to think that the Tigers will gladly swap 2 outs for a run in that situation, getting into the latter part of this game, considering how much the Irish have struggled at times to get across base runners, especially with runners on base.
Yeah, so an RBI for Jolly, and Wharton will hit on the first pitch. Daly, nice play over at second. Look at that throw. Cole Daly has been absolutely spectacular at shortstop this weekend. But Clemson adds 2 runs on 3 hits. They have a 3-run lead as we head to the bottom of the 8th. There's your line score. Clemson with 3 hits, adding 2 runs here in the 8th inning. And it's a new pitcher for the Tigers. It's Riley Gilliam.
Gilliam, kind of the de facto closer, one of a couple of guys out of the bullpen that has multiple saves for the Tigers, but he has really kind of stepped up into any sort of high leverage situation for this team. He's 2-1, has a 1.50 ERA. Opponents hitting just 167 to go along with his 4 saves. And so perhaps we haven't seen him this weekend, so he should be well rested. Could go for the next 6 outs and close out the 6-out save.
Yep, his last appearance was a save. It was against Boston College on March 31st. That was last Saturday. Went an inning and a third, 2 walks, a strikeout, no earned runs, no runs across the board. And that save, like you said, Tom, became his 4th. And again, to just pinpoint back to what we talked about earlier, it's a Clemson bullpen that can go to 3 or 4 guys to come out with a save. They're going to have to get out, I should say, a tough part of the lineup. It's a 3-4-5 hitter starting with Nick Podcool, who's 1 for 3. Matt Vierling is 2 for 3. He's on deck.
These are the guys who got it started back in the 6th inning. Podcool led off with a single. Vierling followed with a double. Both of those players would come around to score. First on the RBI ground out from Kirshner, and then the sacrifice fly from Gilgenbach.
First pitch, high and tight, just over Podcool's head. Podcool batting .500 when he gets the lead off. On base percentage, an impressive .490. Coming into the weekend series, it was 2nd in the ACC. Right behind Logan Wyatt of Louisville.
Final line for Marr, 2 innings pitched, just 1 hit. Did allow those 2 inherited runners to score. Struck out 1, no earned runs on his end.
Gilliam, a 4-pitch walk. So you're right, Tom. Marr pitched well, comes out of the game. And Gilliam will walk the first batter he sees. You got to figure Monte Lee probably not too happy with a 4-pitch walk in his first at-bat.
Yeah, not the start that Gilliam wanted there. And just the 9th walk on the season, albeit just 12 innings pitched on the season for the closer.
So he's put a man on, and it's Matt Vierling, 2 for 3. This would be the half inning where Notre Dame needs, I would say, at least 1, because then you get to the bottom of the order, and sure, they've produced on their own end, but you really want to get production out of the 3-4-5.
Yeah, Kirshner, who has that RBI, is going to be a meeting at the mound here.
He's thrown 5 balls to start this appearance. Gilliam, a junior from Kennesaw, Georgia. One of many Georgia players on this Clemson roster.
And there's some more action already for Clemson in their bullpen. So I got to think that, 1, just to check Gilliam to make sure he gets back on track. 2, make sure that the bullpen has enough time to start getting loose should anything go further awry for Clemson.
Podcool at first. He's got 7 stolen bases this season on 9 attempts, but he stays put. There's the first strike thrown by Gilliam. Five runs, 8 hits, no errors for Clemson. 2 runs, 6 hits, 1 error for the Irish. And Vierling will take ball 2.
'23 Spires, who we saw in game 1, getting warmed up through an inning. Gave up a couple of hits.
Yeah, no earned runs for him yesterday. As that is strike 2. Vierling had 8 multi-hit games in the month of March. He has 1 in this game. He was 1 for 9 in the prior 2 games of this series, so Back to what he had done all of March in Game 3 of this series. And now the 2-2. Down and away. Podcool sees it go by the catcher, Wilkie, and the Irish have a runner in scoring position.
A full count now for Veerling as this breaking ball gets through the 5-hole of Wilkie behind the plate. I always wonder, Nick, when closers come in, not a one-run game, not the 9th inning, is there, a difference in how they're feeling? Is there something going on? Not as intense, we always hear about closers just kind of being a different breed, a little bit thrive off of some of that pressure. Not to say this isn't a high-leverage situation.
No, but I see your point. Finishes, it would still be a save opportunity, as that is foul tip, but caught by Wilkie for strike number 3. And the first out of the inning, and an important one to get Matt Veerling down.
They showed up there after the breaking ball was down in the zone that got by Wilkie. Comes back with the fastball, setting up middle, in, it ended up being up and in, and Veerling couldn't quite lay off.
Oh, high heat inside action. And Alex Kirshner takes a first pitch strike. Kirshner, with his 10-game hitting streak on the line, is 0 for 3 today. Be a perfect time for him to drive home Podcool over at second. The check swing, check over first. First base umpire Randall Doolin says Kirshner checked his swing properly. Irish 0 for 4 with runners in scoring positions. The 5th at bat of the day. That's fouled off.
Now Gilliam ahead in the count, and he has 19 strikeouts now after Veerling goes down in just 12 1/3 innings pitched. So he's got that power breaking ball, the good fastball, a couple of pitches that he can go to.
1-2, slap towards third. Cromwell fields, checks over to second to make sure Podcool stays there, and throw to first gets out number 2. So the Irish got the leadoff man on, but have since been retired for the last 2 at-bats. Podcool advanced to second on the pass ball. But now a crucial at-bat for Eric Gilgenbach with a man on and 2 gone. Gilgenbach hardly hit. Cromwell with the glove. Throw to first. What a play. It may be a little chilly outside, but that has not affected the defense this weekend. The Irish leave another on base, the 7th of the day, and we head to the final frame of this series. It is 5-2 Irish. Top of the 9th coming up.
No runs, no hits. There were no errors, 1 man left on base.
There's Nick Podcool. We won't see that very often. Loses it on the little warm-up play. But it's okay during warm-ups, right? He has been perfect today and the entire series. I think the Irish might have one of the best defensive inside infields. You're talking about shortstop and Cole Daly and second base and Nick Podcool in the ACC, but maybe even the country. These guys are really, really efficient.
They've been flashing the leather all weekend. Hasn't been really anything that's gotten by them that they should have gotten to.
And Peter Cromwell will also be a part of that. Patrick Cromwell, excuse me. He had 2 really nice plays over at third to finish the bottom of the 8th. So he takes strike one. And a nice diving glove to his left over at the hot corner to get the final out. And he hits one towards second. Podcool fields it and won't make a mistake there like he did in the warm-ups for out number one.
One away for Brown, who stays in the game after giving up a couple of runs, although Mick Aoki might be signaling the end of his day as he was walking out here to the mound.
Yeah, you and I were both a little surprised that he was still in there to start the ninth, but it was the matchup against the left-hander Cromwell, and it'll be a call to the bullpen, and it'll end the day of Cameron Brown. And a pitching change with Anthony Holubecki coming to the mound. Nice look at the booth. Tom Peterson, Nick Valdesari here. What's been a great weekend series. We've been treated like royalty. The camera crew's been great out in the outfield, and well, we just got one final inning, and if you think about it, 1 2/3, unless this game is brought into extras. Irish trying to hold off the Tigers before getting some runs in the bottom of the ninth, and it's a new pitcher for them.
Anthony Holubecki making his second appearance of the series, went a third of an inning on yesterday's game. See the numbers on the season. 12 appearances, a 4.42 ERA over 18 1/3 innings worked. He's been another solid sophomore arm out of the bullpen for Mick Aoki. And he comes in with a clean slate after Cameron Brown exits. 1 out of the inning after the ground out to Podcool. And he'll face the 8 and 9 hitters, Wilkie and Green.
They both have wins today just in the first game of this doubleheader. This is the decisive game 3 of this series. Notre Dame beating Clemson yesterday by this score, but just flip it, 5-2 Irish. And Clemson beat Notre Dame 6-3 earlier today. It's been a close series. I mean, you look at the records, Clemson 24-7, Irish 13-17. But that really doesn't tell the story of this series. I mean, the Irish have been competitive in every game and done so all year. They've beaten 4 top 10 teams. I should say they have 4 wins against top 10 teams, 2 against LSU, 1 against Clemson, and one against Florida State. And you'd think that would, you know, if they lose this one today, you got to have some confidence going into your next series that you have competed with one of the best teams in the country.
Yeah, especially for a relatively young team, especially from a pitching staff standpoint. This is a team that lost a fair amount of seniors from a year ago, lost 6 players to the MLB draft, 5 of them pitchers. And they've shown the ability to beat some of the best teams in the country. Now Mick Aoki and the rest of the team in the middle part of the season, searching for that consistency throughout not only the ACC, but throughout the midweek as well.
And the Irish, it doesn't get any easier for them, unfortunately. They're at North Carolina State next weekend, who is also in the top 10. Because that's a leadoff walk to Kyle Wilkie. North Carolina State just ahead of Clemson in the Atlantic Division. They're 10-4 in ACC play. But after that, you have 3 winnable series. And I think Notre Dame can compete with NC State. Absolutely. Maybe win a game in Raleigh. But then you have series against Virginia Tech, Boston College, and Pittsburgh. Teams that right now Notre Dame should feel pretty confident against.
Yeah, and all those series coming here at Frank Eck Stadium, where the Irish have been better than they have on the road.
That gets by LaManna. Try to glove it with his left hand to the right. And it'll be another free base for Wilkie, who's now at second. The Irish have had 7 straight winning seasons at home. 18-9 a year ago here at Frank Eck Stadium. Currently 5-4. Our next home game will be a midweek matchup against the Big Ten in Northwestern. But not the next game the Irish have. They travel to East Lansing to play the Spartans, another Big Ten team, on Tuesday. There's a meeting on the mound. Meanwhile, for Clemson, they got a big game coming up against Georgia of the SEC on Tuesday. That one's on the road as well. And then they got Miami coming to town before taking on Georgia again. Clemson's done that with a couple of midweek games. They've played Coastal Carolina twice. They'll play Georgia twice. They'll play Kennesaw State twice on a conference.
They do that a couple of times with some home-away series.
Yep.
They'll go home on a midweek for one trip. They'll go on the road a week later.
You saw Tommy Vale warming up there, the left-hander. But still in there is Anthony Hollebecky, who threw a 6-pitch walk to Wilkie. And a first pitch ball, make that 2 balls now to Jordan Green. Jordan Green, when he bats 9th, Clemson is 6-0. And if the Tigers can hold on again in this one, they will be 7-0. He's a guy that didn't really play much in the first half of the season, but has taken full advantage of his opportunities since. That pitch in the dirt, it's 3-0.
Hitting 308 now, 429 on base percentage. Out of the 9 spot, slugging .564. And now this is his 40th at bat of the season.
It'll be a 3-0 with 1 out and a man on. Green, who's 1 for 3 in this game, will take strike 1.
Singled back in the 5th inning and then was on 3rd. If you remember, Meredith was on first. They put on the 1st and 3rd move when Meredith stole and the ball ended up rolling out into the outfield. That's how Green scored his run.
And Hollebecky will walk a 2nd straight, this time a 5-pitch walk.
Right here. Come on, Meredith. Here.
We'll take a look at Notre Dame's upcoming schedule as there'll be a pitching change as Anthony Hollebecky is done. We'll take a quick look at it. There's Michigan State coming up on Tuesday. That's on ESPNU. Northwestern will be here on the ACC Network Extra on Wednesday. And then there's that tough series against North Carolina State.
Come back home after a long trip. You get top 10 team in Indiana. Tough slate upcoming for the Irish.
A lot of Big Ten teams, and we'll be back on the other side of the break. Tommy Vale in for the Irish.
Another arm out of the bullpen, Tommy Vale. Again, 2nd appearance for him this weekend. Did not record an out in his first slot, but making his 16th appearance of the season, he's probably been the most consistent arm out of the bullpen. Just a freshman for Mike Yogi. 1.54 ERA and 11 2/3 innings of work, but he's got another challenge here. 2 inherited runners, just 1 out after a couple of walks from Hollebecky. Runners on 1st and 2nd, and you get the top of the order. Not an easy task for Tommy Vale.
Yeah, Tommy Vale walked 2, just like Hollebecky did right before him. So he inherits 1st and 2nd with just 1 out in the inning. And it's the top of the order with Kier Meredith. Well, you saw Cole Daly calling for Vale to throw behind him as Wilkie got a huge lead at 2nd. See Wilkie again taking his steps. Daly right behind him. Vale checks behind him at 2nd base. First pitch is in there for a strike.
Cavadas not holding on at 1st base. Green free to get a large lead. Veerling playing a couple of steps in on the corner. Perhaps remembering that bunt from Meredith yesterday.
There's strike 2. Now we've seen, I feel fortunate that we're the first to really see Kier Meredith in action, and he has been a delight.
Very fun to watch. Defensively, on the base pass. And he showed a wide range of talents up at the plate. Running for singles, put one over the fence in this morning's game. Tripled in his first collegiate hit.
Selected by the Chicago Cubs in last year's MLB draft. Of course, South Bend has a Cubs affiliate, as that ball is called for a ball. So 1-2. The South Bend Cubs are the A affiliate of the Chicago Cubs, and the Four Winds Stadium over there on the other part of the city, it's really nice. South Bend Cubs have done very well with that arrangement. They started their season this weekend here at home.
The Irish were scheduled to take on the South Bend Cubs in a scrimmage they put on annually this past Wednesday, but it was canceled for the second straight year due to inclement weather.
Yeah, tough conditions. The Irish didn't finish the game against Chicago State the prior day until midnight. 11:46 was the final out recorded because of a rain delay. They were supposed to play Chicago State the next day, and it was canceled due to snow on the ground in the early parts. The snow has melted since. It's been a nice weekend. A little chilly still, but the sun has been out. And now an even count at 2-2 to Kier Meredith. Outside, ball 3. 3 close pitches by Vale here after getting the first 2 strikes.
And Meredith fouled off one pitch in the zone, took a breaking ball that was just high, and then the fastball there from Vale.
So now a payoff pitch, popped him up. And that'll be the infield fly rule. And that's out number 2, and Daly makes the catch regardless.
Next batter for the Tigers, the right fielder, number 28, Seth
Fastball
Beard.
up in the zone that Meredith just missed. And you can see the second base umpire there, John Haggerty, making the call.
Brings in Seth Beer, perhaps his last at bat of this series. He's 1 for 3 today. Was 2 for 4 yesterday, and then in the earlier game today in the doubleheader was 0 for 4. No home runs from him, which is an uncommon occurrence, but we've seen him hit the ball real nicely. He's catching it early and driving it to right field. Vale checks second. The 0-1 delivery is popped up. Seen a lot of that, unfortunately, too, for Beer. Veerling calls off the dogs and makes the catch on the mound. So Clemson leaves 2 aboard, and we head to the bottom of the 9th. The Irish need 3 to tie, 4 to win. Wind has picked up a little bit out in left field. You see it going from right to left out in the outfield. That's what we saw more in that first game. And maybe it gives the Irish an advantage here in the bottom of the 9th. They need 3 runs. They had a 2-run 9th in the first game today. They're going to need 3 to tie this one up, 4 to win it.
The Irish will have to get going with the bottom of the order. 7, 8, 9 due up. Cavadas, Daniel Jung, the designated hitter after he subbed in for Feliz back in the 7th, and then Lamanna, the catcher, before the Irish have a hope to turn it over.
And it is Nico Cavadas,
Leading out the bottom of the 9th inning.
left-handed hitter.
For Notre Dame.
You see his day, 1 for 3.
Nico Cavadas.
Cavadas did have that single back in the 2nd inning. For Clemson, it's still Riley Gilliam looking for save number 5 on the year. One thing with Clemson, too, we've seen all these saves throughout their roster. It's a team that is a top 10 team in the country, but they play a lot of close games. Cavadas fouls that one off.
Sometimes with the offensive inconsistencies, relying on the home run ball, they do put up 6 runs, just over 6 runs a game on average.
There's a big swing and a miss. For Gilliam right now, he is 5th in the conference, the ACC, in saves with 4. Right above him, slotted at tied for 3rd, is Cole Cometa, the Irish. The appeal over to 3rd. Cavadas did not go. So now a 2-2 count to Cavadas to start the bottom of the 9th. And it's down low and a full count. That's the other thing with Cavadas, for a guy that has some pop, got to admire his patience and his batter IQ as just a young freshman. And he will hit one into center field. It'll drop for at least a base hit. It gets by the center fielder, Meredith. Cavadas rounding first. And how about a leadoff stand-up double to start the bottom of the ninth?
Great approach from Cavadas, catches a fastball from Gilliam that is right over the heart of the plate. And that's one of the first times we've seen Meredith get burned there in the outfield. He's positioned, you could see where he started in the clover and can't quite get there, reaches the glove out. And that's going to roll all the way to the wall. I think Cavadas may have challenged for 2, even if Meredith gets there in time.
Yeah, it would have been a tough throw for Meredith if he had gloved it and then had to spin around. On the first pitch, Jung grounds one towards second. Green fields it, throws over to first. That's out number 1. Cavadas over to third. So a nice response by Gilliam, who gets Jung swinging on the first pitch.
Clemson really not concerned with Lamanna there on third. Will gladly trade an out for a base. Advance it just 90 feet. And Cole Kmet going to face his counterpart, the closer, and Gilliam up here for a pinch hit.
Cole Kmet has only had 1 at-bat. I should say he's had 2 at-bats, but he has had 1 walk. He's 0 for 1, but he's got some pop. And an interesting decision. I think it's a good one. You get a fresh look at Cole Kmet, who's got some hitting ability. And a chance for him to drive home a run. And what an athlete he is. I mean, we talked earlier about the dual sport athletes. Cole Kmet, of a tight end on the football team. Seen Pat Connaughton, who was really good on the basketball team. The Irish winning the ACC back in 2015 when he was part of the basketball team, but a really good pitcher, was drafted by the Orioles. Connaughton, that is. Samardzija, still in the big leagues.
Torrey Hunter Jr.
Can't forget him.
Wide receiver and baseball combo.
Just like Samardzija chose the baseball path. Wise move. I mean, the name says it all, right? The 0-2 to Kmet is down low. Irish still looking for a run here in the ninth. Five runs, 8 hits, no errors for Clemson. 2 runs, 7 hits, 1 error for the Irish. The 1-2 fouled off. A little bit behind is Kmet.
Gilliam has been featuring that powerful fastball. Hasn't been able to quite locate the breaking ball as well.
And Kmet another foul ball. It's now 1-2 after a couple of foul balls. Takes the strike 3, caught him looking. Nice stuff from Gilliam, and the Irish are down to their last out.
Here's the nasty breaking ball. Buckles the knee. You can see the little shake in the hips there from Kmet. Absolutely frozen by that off-speed offering.
I think Cole Kmet knew it right away, too. And now 2 outs. Top of the order. Cole Daly, a swing and a miss on the first pitch. Another hack, and the Irish are down to their final strike.
Best pitch. Best pitch.
This one hit into left field, carrying back. And right near the warning track is Drew Wharton, and that will do it. Clemson wins both games in this doubleheader, and they take their 4th ACC series of the season.
Clemson gets a nice road series win here in the ACC. They hold pace with NC State, and they showed why they are one of the top 10 teams in the country here today. A nice doubleheader sweep of the Irish.
So Jake Higginbotham wins. That's his 4-1 record on the season.